Hello makers! Welcome to Always Yarn First, a podcast about knitting, crochet, spinning, and all the yarny goodness in between. I'm Lindsay and I'm coming to you from Little Rock, Arkansas. And as always, you can find me on Instagram and Ravelry as Always Yarn First. Hello! This is episode 25. Today is Saturday, November 26th. Before we get into the goods, I always like to remind people I have 2 make-alongs currently going on. Hashtag the Chevron Year Itch is a year-long make-along that goes to the end of January of next year with my friend Lori from Arkansas Yarn Co. And we are making Chevron blankets if you want to participate. I'll talk more about that later. And then the hashtag /mystash2022MAL. Also is it's a stash busting make along I'm doing here on my channel, both on my Ravelry group. If you don't have Instagram, you can also post there. And I am just encouraging people to use our stash that you have to use something that was in your stash before January of this year. So, welcome. As always, I name my episodes after songs because if you're new here, I am a huge music lover. That was my first love, all kinds of genres, so I always find one that's fitting for the week. And this week's song is Follow Through by Gavin DeGraw, so I will have that link below if you'd like to listen to it. And also other shops and things I will mention will always be linked below. So in this week, we have, I always do the timestamps below if you want to skip around, like if spinning isn't your thing, or if you're not really into acquisitions because you don't want to be tempted. I totally get that. So down below, I also have timestamps of when I talk about different things. So this week, usually I do have one finished object. We'll talk about whips, podcast of the week, and then we're going to talk a little bit about future knitting /advents / make 9 for next year. And then we'll get into acquisitions and end with spinning. So first of all, what am I wearing? I can't remember if I've worn this before, but this is and I just literally lost it out of my head as soon as I thought of it. It's the Autumn League Pullover. Oh my goodness. The Autumn League Pullover by Alexandra Tavel. I love this knit. This is meant to look like a sweatshirt. You can see the detail at the top. This one, she has updated this pattern actually. It used to be, the pattern details was knit flat, although I knitted in the round because it was very easy to just pick up the stitches on the arm and then just keep knitting. But she has updated her pattern now for knitting in the round. So if you purchase it now, it is updated. I used Hedgehog Fibers Tweedy Base. The texture does not bother me. I have seen other podcasters where they do not like the texture of this. It's a little too itchy for them. This doesn't bother me at all. I love this. This is one of my favorites. And again, one of my sweaters that I do want multiples in is how comfortable this is. So let's get into finished objects. I have one, and it's a new cast on finished object. I actually cast it on Monday night, and it is a Sophie scarf. I'll put it on here for you. I've never really been one for this, but I guess that's how you'd wear it. So I was at Arkansas Yarn Co. hanging out with my friend Lori on Monday. And, I mean, this kind of goes into acquisitions a bit, but I've been staring at this crazy yarn from Lana Gatto. And it's just like this sparkly bit yarn. And Lori has like a sample of her church shawl. This yarn held with one of her yarns. And her yarns are super soft. And it's a beautiful. So I was just like, I kind of just want to get one of those and just play with it. So I had been planning on making a Sophie scarf, not with anything in particular because this is super cute and it was fun to make, but it's definitely not my style. So I don't know if I will keep it or I will gift it, but I just wanted to make one just because everyone is making one. and it was quick. And so I just came home and picked out a stash yarn I had in my stash. I did, let's see, I used Lolabean Yarn Co. and her wax bean base, and the colorway was Jawbreaker. I'm pretty sure it was a club colorway from Indian Tangle, maybe, that I had gotten. So yeah, this is the Sophie scarf. The pattern is by PetiteKnit. This is the long version. It has a short and a long, and I had heard that the short was basically just like right around your neck, so I did not want the short one. But I started it Monday night. I finished it today, Saturday, maybe Thursday. I finished it. So yeah. So you can see the sparkle bits in there from the yarn. I don't know what I'm going to do with this. Right now it's just kind of hanging on my light till I figure out. I guess if I have a friend whose style I think would go with that, I probably will gift it to them. But it's just decoration for now. So yeah, that was a very fun knit. So that is the only thing I finished. And I have not cast anything else on, surprisingly. I want to cast everything on, and then I, came to the realization I had so much I was working on that I really would like to get finished. So I'm trying to be somewhat good. So let's talk about sock whips first. Neither of these socks have gotten a lot of attention. I feel like this podcast is going to be boring in the sense that I feel like it's besides the Sophie scarf, there's nothing new. It's the same projects you guys have seen over and over. I hear other podcasters say that, and I'm just as interested to see their progress because that's the whole love of it, right? But now I understand why they've said that because I'm like, okay, yes, you've seen these things many times. But the socks literally have probably gotten the least amount of love. So this is some DK socks I'm working on. You can see where I was last time. Literally haven't gotten very far because I need to weigh it to see how much I have left of the skein and probably start the toe on this one. This is just making DK socks for a friend. And the yarn is Legacy Fiber Arts in Dragon Eggs 2 colorway. So yeah, these are just really nice thick socks. I thought they'd be cozy for winter time, and I'm housing them in my Care Bears bag. This is from Knit for Brains, Laura. Yeah, and then the other sock, again, haven't done much on. I just love looking at this sock though. This is my vanilla sock. I know it doesn't look vanilla, but this is yarn from Night Owl Fiber. This is the Barn Owl sock base in the colorway Sarcasm. If you love this color, I saw it at Lori's shop. Arkansas Yarn Co. still has this colorway. If you're interested in this color, and again, you can see I've made a little bit of progress. Again, this is a vanilla sock. It doesn't look like it. The only change I made to that is when I hit the new color, I knit 3 stitches and then I slip a stitch all the way around. And I cast on with 64 stitches. So I basically do that the first round, which you can see that little detail there. And then after that, I just knit the rest of the color till the next color. And I keep doing that. So just kind of a nice little detail just to add on to a vanilla sock. But yeah, I love these socks too, but I've pretty much been working on my 2 sweaters, basically. So yeah, let me show you my blanket because this is not in its bag. It's out because I have been working on it a little bit this morning. It's nice and cool in the morning, so it's a good project to have on your lap. Okay. If I can get it. All right, so this is my Chevron blanket. This is the pattern I'm using is called the Chevron Baby Blanket and Throw by I Knit to Purl 2. This is using Sock Yarn Society Mystery Club from Lori at Arkansas Yarn Co. And I'll repeat it for those that are new. You'll see toward the bottom, my colored sections are bigger. And then I realized how long it was going to be. So halfway, I knit half the amount of color before I did my border. And then I even shortened up my border. So you can see between each color, I'm using the colors Wedding Cake, which is white, and then Graphite, the dark gray, and then Wedding Cake again. So I was doing 2 rows, 6 rows, 2 rows. And now with the smaller color sections, I'm doing 2 rows, 4 rows, 2 rows. So I am not caught up like I wanted to be, but I am working on the October colorway. And let's see. I still have some. Yeah, I still have another inch to go of that color before I do the border and can get in the November colorway. So Lori and I, like I said, are hosting a make-along. It's crochet, knitting. The only requirements, it's a chevron blanket. Has to be a blanket, has to be a chevron pattern, any pattern you like. And you can use the hashtag where I'm pulling prizes from Instagram, or Lori has a finished object thread in her Ravelry group for Arkansas Yarn Co. Group on Ravelry if you want to post your finished products there. And because originally she started her subscription the end of January, we're running this make-along through the end of January next year. So her and I will only be using the colors through December. And there's only 11 colors because when she started, she was sending them the end of the month. So people were getting their January colors in February and realized that was really confusing people. So I think in April, she basically started sending them out April 1st and calling it the April box. So technically you didn't, miss a month, but because January started the end of the month and then she just transitioned. So we're only using 11 colors because we are going to continue to do a make-along next year. So the next video Lori and I do for our unboxing will probably have more details that we'll talk about. She has a new theme for next year. This year's theme was our favorite things. And so next year she has a new theme. So stay tuned for that video coming out. Probably, in another week it should come out. On the unboxing of December's colorway and what January's box, what to look forward to. So, but this is my blanket. You can see I did make a little progress. I'm hoping to work on this a little bit more today. So yeah. So I'm almost done with October, and then I will have 2 more months colorway. I'm excited. I'm excited because this blanket is like a luxurious blanket. We're holding all of the fingering weight double. As you can tell, obviously I'm using sparkle. So is Lori. And it's just going to be beautiful. And it's going to be my blanket. I've had my grandma ask me if she could have it. I'm like, no. This one's mine. So anyway, so it's a very special blanket. And I'm excited to the thought that I will have actually finished it in a year, which is super exciting. So, but definitely use that hashtag if you guys are also making chevron blankets, because we love to look at them. Okay, now into the sweaters. So the same 2 sweaters I was working on last time. This is my sweater, and this is in the B Splat bag by Mrs. Brown's Bags. I had someone contact me, I don't know if it was on the last podcast, that was really looking into the store, which I did have linked below, but the store said that there's nothing in there. I haven't really been following the grocery girls as closely, so I don't know if Jody's been making a lot of bags because now she's attached to dyeing yarn. And so I'm not sure if she still makes bags or how regularly she makes bags. I have linked to the shop below. This bag and all the Mrs. Brown's bags you see that I purchased probably like 4 years ago. I like went through like hardcore buying a ton of her bags. So that's why when I talk about this, I have the link, but you probably are not going to find this bag. So this is my Rocket Tea DK. This was the one I had wondered if I was going to finish. I definitely am not finished. This one I pretty much, when I was away in Iowa, I did work on this the most, for sure. So this one definitely has the most progress. In fact, I'll hold it up. I passed the sleeves, and you can see the stitch marker where I was last time. So now I'm just knitting because I told you that there is a detail down the side for the Rocket Tee. I'm not doing that on this sweater. So I am just knitting around and around. And I love it. And I already talked about this color, this yarn. It was a gift. And still, every time I pick it up, it just makes me so happy. So yeah, there's not much to say about this. I'm just really loving the blips of white coming through. Oh, it's so good. Yeah. So what had happened, funny story kind of bringing me into the next sweater. So, you know, when I was podcasting last time, I was knitting on this the most. And in my podcast, I had mentioned that, oh, sorry, before I move on. Arkansas Yarn Co. This is Plush DK in the Moonlight. This was like a one-time colorway. So I'm trying to get Lori to figure out what the recipe is so she can make more of it though. So, but I was knitting on this the last podcast. And then I was saying, oh, I might want to finish this sweater. And I just love it so much. And it's all I want to knit, which was absolutely true. And then I pulled out my husband's sweater. And I'm like, oh, yeah, you know, this has been an ordeal. I started one sweater for him at the beginning of the year. I made like the whole body. And then like the color work, I'm like, nope, I can't do this. And he gave me a hard time. And I said, listen, I'm going to pick a simple classic sweater. And you will have a sweater by the end of the calendar year. And I was watching back the podcast when I was editing. And I got a little panicky when I came to that because I'm like, it's November. I'm like, that's like a month and a half. And you know, if you're a knitter like me that likes to knit on things that you enjoy at the moment. Now, I know that there are knitters that can plan and be like, this week I'm only working on this project. And that's great for them. I cannot be like that. My knitting is the source of joy to combat anxiety. So I have to knit on what is bringing me joy at that moment. So, I mean, I can plan a little bit. Like I could make myself work on a project I need to get done for a little bit each day. But then the majority of the day I have to be working on something I love. Like it's just, otherwise it just doesn't work. So I watched that video and I'm like, oh man, I really need to work on this sweater. So guess what I did? Didn't finish it, but I finished the body. I was super close. So again, lift it up and hopefully you can see the s'mores. I was almost to the ribbing. And because my husband was very particular in things, he was leaving for out of town. And I wanted to make sure he tried it on. The length was right for him. So I knew where to do the ribbing. And he did try it on before I did the ribbing. But I'm like, okay, I'm going to do the ribbing this long. So this is a good length. So excited. The body is done. And you guys, I picked up the first sleeve. So I am on my way. My husband gets home today. And I mean, he's a tall guy. I mean, I'm nowhere near toward the end of it. But because I'm doing decreases down, when you make a bunch of sweaters for yourself, you kind of end up knowing what you like. Like, some people like, oh, I just don't do decreases down the arms. I just know I don't like that. Well, I've never made him a sweater, so I don't know. So I've been going to the pattern, which is the single malt sweater by Maxim, and been doing decreases as I go. But then I've been nervous, like, I really don't want to finish the whole sleeve and be like him being like, that's way too tight. I don't like that. So I've been kind of working on it a little bit, but not too aggressively, so that when he gets home, again, he can try it on so that I know what I'm doing. And then, I can be like, okay, maybe the amount of decreases I have now are just right, but no more decreases. And then maybe do like a rapid decrease to do the ribbing at the bottom. So I kind of I'm at the stage with the first sleeve. I want him to try on many times to see if he likes it, to see, where he wants the sleeve to stop. Because again, everyone's very different about where if you kind of like a bracelet sleeve or you want it all the way down to your hands. So he gets home today and I'll be making him try this on. But I'm so excited that I'm into the first sleeve. So it's not December yet, so I feel like I'm at a good place that I can still get this done as promised by the end of December. So that is single malt. The wool I'm using is Knit Picks Wool of the Andes worsted in the Grizzly Heather, and it is in my Knit Knack Knits bag. It's a tongue twister. My Stephen West MCal is back on my cart, but I still haven't touched it at all. Still planning on going with and just finishing Clue 1, as I talked about last week. But again, I am not in a hurry at all. So that is all I've been working on, which again, like I said, you have all seen before if you've been here before. I'm really just trying to work on these sweaters. There's other things I want to work on that I have in my cupboards with the yarn ready to go. And then get into some acquisitions I've gotten, what I would like to make with those things. So first, let's talk about the podcast of the week. This week's podcast is more spinning related. The podcast of the week, you find her under Rachel Smith on YouTube. And she kind of has two different, I wouldn't even really call them podcasts. She has two different kind of like playlists of things. The one I watch specifically is called Wool N, letter N, Spinning. And she has another one called Welford Weaves. So the woolen spinning she does live. And she has a super professional setup. She has the camera in front of her where she's chatting with people live. Then she has a camera of what's on her table to talk about different wool or anything like that she's about to spin or has spun or hand spun yarn she's done, or she has knitting projects that she's done with hand spun. So that's kind of, really the first podcast I found as a spinner that kind of, yes, takes you into spinning things, but still keeps it knitting related too, like how to process that from spinning it to plying it to now using it. And I find that so helpful. She has a great presence. Like I said, she's super professional. And then at the end, she always does, I don't know if it's on her website or whatever, but different people get to show off their hand spun. Again, whether it's they've just spun it or they've knitted up in something. They share pictures, and then she kind of goes through and shows their pictures, which is super cool to kind of see. Again, like to me, real world spinning being so new, I'm trying to really still wrap my head around it. So definitely check her out if you're a new spinner. If you just find that whole process from wool to sweater intriguing, then she is a great one to watch. So I will link that below. All right, so let's talk briefly about Advents, Make 9 boards, and future knitting. So first of all, Advents, because that's, we have not even a full week left of November left. So Advent season is coming up. So if you're new, if you don't know what an Advent calendar is as regards to knitting, what it usually is it comes with a package that you have little tiny packages to open up every day. Most Advents are small packages, days 1 through 24, you open in December. And then day 25, you open up a big package, and it's usually a full skein of yarn. Usually every other day, it's a mini skein, about 20 grams of yarn. And then the last day, you get a full skein. And then there's also goodies in there. There's other people that have done like just one skein per week. So you get a skein per week, so it's not all the minis. And then everyone has done it from different Christmas themes, obviously. But then there's many that don't do Christmas. Last year I had Pineapple Knits. She does a fade set, which I really love, because if you're working on a project and you specifically want that fade where you're opening up the colors in the order of the fade, which is awesome. And then there are people that do, non-Christmas Advents and just themes to different, TV shows, to movies they like or whatever. People just go crazy on the Advents. And the Advents are super fun. They are awesome to like open up a little mini gift every day, essentially, of yarn and goodies and things like that. But they're also really expensive. A lot of that has to do with, the price of yarn, and obviously everything right now has gone up. So an Advent, if you are getting like a mini per day plus a full skein and goodies, is expensive. So a lot of people can't afford Advents. I, of course, had made an Advent from my own scraps, and I went through stitch markers and a bag and literally just went all over my stash. And you guys know that I gave that away here on my podcast. And that went to one of a Kate, and she has received it, and she is planning on doing Vlogmas. So that's something that usually goes with Advent time. So Vlogmas is basically the name of things that people who have an Advent specifically, usually, not always, but they do a little vlog, little video every single day, which includes them opening up their package. And then it may be just yarny kind of Vlogmas where you just see them winding it, opening it, knitting on it, or whatever. Or it could be like, shows their day, what they're doing. They take you to work with them or shopping or anywhere. And then they edit that video every single day and put it up on YouTube, or a lot of times on Instagram Reels or Stories, and for the whole month of December through Christmas. So I had been asked if I was going to do that this year. I did purchase one Advent. So, of course, y'all know I love Lori, Arkansas Yarn Co., and her yarn is my favorite. Last year, Lori always picks a Christmas movie that she does Advent by, where she literally will watch the movie and then like freeze frame it to get her color inspirations for the movie, which I think is just amazing. She alternates. One year she'll do a classic movie, and the next year she'll do a more modern Christmas movie. So last year she did Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. And I don't celebrate Christmas. And I really wanted Lori's Advent, but I'm like, there's going to be a bunch of, Christmassy type things in there, so I didn't order it. And then I watched Maddie and Kristen open up theirs every day. And I had major FOMO. Her yarn was spectacular. It was all my colors, and I was so mad at myself. And then because that movie, it's a lot of winter, not a ton of Christmassy stuff. It didn't really have any Christmas stitch markers or bags or anything like that in it. So I was so mad at myself. And I'm like, you know what? I don't care what the theme is this year. I'm just going to buy one of Lori's this year. So I did. So her advent this year is based on Elf, the Will Ferrell movie. Again, I don't celebrate Christmas. I've never seen Elf. So I have decided, as far as Vlogmas, that's, first of all, also a lot of work. And I don't know if I can do it. But what I'm planning on doing, I'm not keeping all the Christmassy things from the box. So I'm just focused on the yarn. Because I know the yarn's going to be awesome. Because Lori's yarn is awesome. So what I'm planning on doing is basically shooting a little vlog every day, me opening the yarn packages, and I have picked a pattern and I'm going to try to keep up with knitting on it every day. I don't know if I'm going to succeed. I've never tried this before, but so I thought it'd be fun to open the yarn, see me winding the yarn, and then take, video, fast forward, of course, throughout the day of me knitting on it, working on the project. So basically my vlog is going to be based on not totally focusing on the Advent box per se, but just the yarn and can I keep up with it. So here is the pattern I chose. I'm sure you've all seen this before because Amba O'Brien is known for her like Advent patterns that you can use up mini skeins. Now Lori's yarn is not a fade, but I think I know Lori's aesthetic. I've had enough of her yarn. I've seen her sock box this year. I think it'll work beautifully. So I'm planning on making this. So I'd like to literally focus in December on the minis I open and making this wrap. So that's what I'm planning on doing. So I'm going to do that one of two ways. One, open up, do it every day, post it on Instagram. But if that feels overwhelming to me because that's, editing and all that every single day, then I'm going to just do option 2, which is I will film it week by week, still film all that every day, and then just make one shorter video squished together of my whole week. How did I do? So I'm kind of leaning more toward that. I might have like little snippets on Instagram, but I feel like if I'm excited at first, I don't know if I will follow through with it. And I don't want to start doing that on Instagram and then just detest it by the end. So I know myself too well. So that is my Advent rant, but I hope you guys will follow me on that. And I want to know if you guys are making something. What pattern did you choose? Do you usually get an Advent and try to make it right away, or do you just stash all your minis for a later time? Yeah. So then my other planning was thinking about and talking about with friends is Make 9. So if you're not familiar with the Make 9 board, I'll pop in a picture. I have one from last year that I made. So a Make 9 is usually a board of 9 projects that you want to make in that next calendar year. So usually people start posting it at the end of December, beginning of January of 9 projects they have picked. Now I know Kristen from We Share Needles has stuck with her Make 9. I think the last podcast she'd mentioned that, did she have 1 left? Maybe 2, and they're both on the needles currently, which is impressive. I have made a Make 9 the last, I think, 3 years, and I've never even done like half the projects on there. I'm on the Love and Stitches Nitty Natty membership, and people were talking about doing it this next year, and one person had a great idea that I think I'm going to steal, and it's not Make 9 new projects, but Make 9 whips. Like look through all your whips, stuff that you just haven't finished, whether it's something you need to fix or for whatever reason, and finish it. And I'm like, that's brilliant. Like that's something, it's already on your needles, so you can commit to finishing it. So I think I'm going to do that. I think that's a great idea. And the beauty about the Make 9, it's not like, I think my Make 9 this year, I have finished I've only finished one thing, I'm pretty sure. And I have 2 other things on the needles currently out of 9. So that's 3 out of 9. But it's just a suggestion. For me, it's just fun to see that it's like things like, okay, I really love these right now. But we know how it goes. There's new patterns that come out. And, you know, squirrel. You say, oh, I was going to make this sweater, but oh, I really want this sweater now. And then your sweater that you wanted to make in January doesn't happen. So I'm not, you know, too tied into that, but I do think it is fun to try to do some kind of planning. So, yeah, I think I'm going to make a make 9 of whips. All right. So going a little bit more into future knitting, let's talk about my acquisitions. So the last podcast, I was traveling, and I think I had mentioned, or maybe I didn't, that I was on the way home from my traveling. I was going to be stopping in Kansas City and seeing my friends Christine and Sarah. And Christine is Treasure Goddess, and she is the one that has the yak yarn that I bought, fall in love with. So I got to go see her first in her dye barn, as she calls it. She just got to quit her full-time job and is now a full-time dyer. So that was super exciting, and I got to see all the yarn. So what did I get? All right, so first of all, I did buy yarn, of course, but I did plan for it. Like, again, I don't want to just buy it because. And if you've been following me for a while, you know I bought a skein of her yarn, made a sock, fell in love, bought 3 more of that exact base in just 3 single skein colors, which that was not planned for. But I'm kind of tying it in this time. So previously, I had bought 1 skein of this. Now this is the natural color of that yak sock base that I'm in love with. That's the only base I got, by the way. So this is 70% superwash merino wool, 20% yak, 10% nylon. And this is called Sandy Shores. Like I said, this is the natural color that it comes in. So I bought 1 more skein of that. And then I got a half skein of this color, which is called Lusty Wench. Now, these 3 together are going to make this, which is the Duck Pond Shawl. And you see the color combination I have is in that middle picture here. Just a cute, she has a lot of ducks on her property, chickens, and she twice a year has a big old party at her barn. People can come and knit and shop. And so this year, she didn't make this. I'm trying to figure out. Okay, Ellen Thomas of the Chili Dog made up this pattern for the yarn party where people could buy kits. And I think she still does have some kits on her website, which is linked below. And so, yeah, so I had saw, and Christine is making the exact same color combination, and I'm like, that's the one I want. So I bought 1 skein of that color, because I already had one, and then the half skein for that kit. And then one of the other single skeins I had previously bought is this one, and I think this is my favorite color that I have gotten. I don't know if it's coming up accurately. I think that's pretty good. To me, it's just like the perfect, like, denim-y blue color. This color is called Sharks in the Shallows. Again, same base, the yak base. And I love this one so much. And I knew that I was going to Christine's. And I knew, because I get her newsletter. Again, a reason you need to get newsletters of people that you love, because you find out about sales. She was having an amazing sale to celebrate her quitting her job. And the people that were subscribers got the biggest discount. And so when I went, she had started her sale. So when I was in Iowa, I was like looking on my computer, I'm like, okay, I want a sweater. I need to find a sweater. So I have a game plan of what I'm going into. So the sweater I picked is called the Shady Side. I'll put in a picture by Samantha Guerin, and it has a stripe in there. So I knew I wanted this as the main color. So I ordered 3 of these. She only had 1 in stock, so she was going to be dyeing me 3 together so they'd match. I needed like 3.5 skeins for my size. And I have this one here. I'm not worried if this is a different dye lot because I think even if the color is different, the stripes will break it up. So I'm not too worried. But I, picked different yarns that I wanted. But great thing about being there is you can put them side by side and really tell. So I actually ended up picking a gray. This one is called Ghost Ship. I just needed 1 color of that, so I got 1 of these. And it just looked the nicest next to it. So I think it'll be, a nice, just pretty sweater. So yeah, the Ghost Ship will be the stripe. This will be the main body. So yeah, I got 3 of these, 1 of these, 1.5 of these. So I knew I was going to get a little crazy at Christine's, but like I said, I'm using 2 skeins I already ordered, and I have patterns picked out for everyone. So super excited about that. Then my next stop was at Sarah's, and she is the Sexy Knitter, and I stayed at her house, y'all, and I got to stay in her room where all the yarn and the fiber, where all the magic is. And man, so I had again looked on her shop beforehand and figured out what I wanted, and I knew I wanted these guys. These are like frosted gummy bears. Now, when you order these, every package is just like random colors, FYI. So I got to go through all the colors and pick out which one I wanted. I picked this one that had the 1 non-frosted blue bear. And then I also saw these cute packages. I'll open them up here. These have pressed flowers in them. I don't know how good they're going to come across, but they're super cool. So there's, let's see here. Use one of these guys to show them. Multicolored. There we go. So yeah, these I just thought were so pretty. Yeah. So it comes in this little container. And I got a Sexy Knitter holographic. And then, do I have it here? Oh yes, I do. I also got one of her super fancy tape measures. I think this one just needs to stay in my purse. But again, I'm always looking for tape measures, especially now that my daughter is a knitter, crocheter also, so she knows where they're at on my cart, and then I'm like, why do I only have 1 in here now? So yeah. So that's all I got in Kansas City. However, staying in Sarah's basement, both of them also spin. Not all the time, but they both are spinners. And y'all know how I've gone down that rabbit hole. So, I bought fiber when I got home. So she had a beautiful wall of fiber in her basement that I was just swooning over. Just having a stash in general of fiber, because usually I buy fiber and then I spin it and I'll buy something else. So yeah, I might have went a little bit crazy on the fiber. So it's all up here. I'm not going to take it down, but I'm going to insert a picture that I've taken. And all of this fiber is from Gritty Knits. Gritty Knits is from Texas. I met her in Texas at the DFW Fiber Fest, where I had already spun up I got Rolags from her, but she didn't have a lot of Rolags, and Sarah had suggested that I get bats. If you follow me on Instagram, I did a video that I kind of did an unboxing of these and already talked about this. But she's like, if you like Rolags, then you should, get bats because they're just kind of already loosened up. You don't have to pre-draft them as much. So that's what I did. And now I have a stash of gorgeous fiber next to my yarn, and I love it so much. Although truthfully, I just finished my last spinning project. So these are probably going to come out today, at least one of them. So the last acquisition I had, you already saw that I had gotten this Monday when I went to Arkansas Yarn Co. I also, when I walk around, which I always do, I've been eyeing this color of Lori's for a while. I have really been into green lately for some reason. I don't know if it's just, fall or what. But I've been eyeing this color of hers, and I already kind of have a sweater in this color. So I'm like, what would I make with that? So I haven't bought it. And then I had realized when I went to Iowa that I didn't have any matching cold weather gear for my head and my hands that match. Like I have some fingerless mitts, and then I have headbands, but none of them match. So I decided to get 2 balls in 2 different weights of the same color. So this is, this one is worsted, her worsted weight, and this one is bulky. And the color is called The City. And again, I already know what I'm going to make with them. So I was walking around the store and I'm like, okay, this kind of goes with my quick wins thing that I've been talking about lately, like quick projects, Sophie scarf. This is going to be a hat, this bulky. And I probably could start and finish this today if I don't get out the spinning first. So I just picked a hat and gloves that they had samples of in the store that I liked. So this one right here is their pattern. It's called the Hallmark Movie Hat in bulky. So yeah, I'm looking at the pattern here. It looks like it uses US 11s for the body, US 10s for the ribbing. I mean, this is just gonna fly. So don't know if I'm gonna do a palm. I kind of like it just as a beanie idea, but that is the hat I'm going to be making. And then for the worsted weight, she had some cute fingerless mitts out that was called the Fast Forward mitts. I didn't write down here on my notes who that's by, but I'm going to put a picture in here, and I will link the pattern, the Ravelry pattern at least, below. So yeah, so these are going to be a matching hat and mitts. So, and that's it, mostly. I did also order some Rolag spinning fiber. But that hasn't even shipped yet, so I'll talk about that whenever it does come in. So yeah, that's a lot of acquisitions. So now we move into spinning. All right, so last podcast, my acquisition was from the alpaca farm that I love in Iowa. And I have spun it all up and plied it. It's a little bit sloppy. Hanging here. It was stuck on my winder. It's a little bit damp. So I have finished this, but it's a little tiny bit wet. So interesting. I used 2 bobbins for spinning it. And one bobbin, the first bobbin I did, was super fine, like the finest I've ever gotten, super thin. And then the second bobbin, I don't know if I wasn't paying attention as much or what was going on, but it was thicker. Now it wasn't like super thick, but it was definitely thicker than like lace weight, which was okay because then I just plied those together. So I'm super happy with the results. It's awesome. This is just alpaca fiber with some kind of, I don't know if it's stellina or what it is in there. There was a thread of it in there. So just a slight sparkle. And I think this is my biggest spin yet as far as yardage. Yesterday when I had taken this off and I was measuring the yardage, this is 202 yards. So I'm super stoked about that. That is definitely more, looks like a full skein of yarn here. So yes, I'm super excited about this. This is all the spinning I've been doing, but like I said, I was just home from Iowa just a little over a week ago, and have just been spinning that a few nights, and then plied it yesterday, and then washed it, finished it, everything. So it's so soft. So yeah. All right. Well, that is all I have here for the making this week. I hope you all are doing well. The next podcast will be in December, so that means I'll be knitting on my Advent box. And so, yeah, I hope you will join me on that. And comment below if you guys are getting a box this year. Are you planning on doing something with it? And follow One of a Kate. She's the one who won my Scrappy Advent box, and she says she is doing Vlogmas this year. So, which is exciting. So I'll get to watch her open up the Advent I gave her, which is kind of cool. So please follow her on YouTube. And I hope you all have a good 2 weeks, and I'll see you next time. Bye.